right, over here on the left side of the map. Known in Korea as the Simpson Protoss, member of the Team Prime. He is not a specific pro, but instead he is anypro Prime leader. Over here on the right side of the map, coming off a loss, recently joined the team FX Open, he is...
I was trying to actually get 2 SCVs on that left mineral patch, but stuttered out a little bit, and it just yielded a longer mineral time, or mining time, than shorter. Let's go a Bobobo?
Let's get a Bobobo, man.
What does that mean?
It's like Bobo is like a kiss. It's like really weird, but I don't know what like Bobobo is. It could
Some of these
cheerfuls.
cheerfuls.
Some of these cheerfuls, it's just like an inside joke. Koreans know that we don't know, man. They're like trying to keep it a secret from us foreigners.
We're trying to learn. We're trying to impart that knowledge to you guys.
So, gas going up for SC is not going to do a 1 barracks expand or anything like that. Against Protoss, you see that there was this trend that was happening where people were liking that 1 barracks expand, and then Protosses were finding out how to do these really cool timing attacks to shut that down with Blink Stalkers. You see Taskar do that a lot.
Yeah. But it's also, if you don't go for any really fast expansion as a Terran, you can punish a fast expansion of the Protoss, which a lot of Protoss were starting to do a little while ago.
This is my favorite matchup to cast, actually, because I feel like there's so many different options that players can do. It's so interesting.
So it's been my favorite matchup, even in StarCraft 1 days.
Yeah, StarCraft 1 was so cool. A lot of Terran players, actually, myself included, in StarCraft 1 always hated PvT to play, but like to watch it, because the Terran always have to split all the siege tanks and stuff, and the Protoss would just be like 1-ang with his Arbiters and stuff.
Yeah,
like, oh.
all his Zealots just constantly running in and
I know
dying.
you Terrans who play Brewer know what I'm talking about, man. It's like so hard to deal with that late game Protoss army. You have to do so much more stuff than they do. Protoss Imba.
Well, yeah, but the Terran army is so efficient.
That's true.
It'll be interesting to see if StarCraft 2 starts to trend towards that. At the moment for TVP, it is actually very similar. If a Protoss takes a base, the Terran can take a base. And you want to stay on even bases. But that's because the way that the armies are being used, it's a lot more bio at the moment, and this bio is almost as efficient as the Protoss units, so you don't need to have that like really strong, slow mech push from your siege tanks and whatever else.
Reaper coming out for SC wants to get a little bit of extra scouting information. He's going to do the Reaper expand. Of course, after he makes that Reaper, he's going to be making Marauders to make sure he can hold that expand. SCV is going to come in here. Wants to check for where all the pylons are, so later when he wants to scout with the Reaper, he can see what's being hidden. Interestingly enough, we do have a sentry coming out for anypro. You don't normally see that if you're doing a Stargate build, so I may actually be wrong, Torch. Looks like he's going to do a 1-gate expand with 2 gas. Only Liquid Huck does that. Like, what is this?
He didn't actually get to scout anything of what was going on with SC, did he? No, he does see the Reaper out now. So the Reaper is going to be able to take control of the Watchtower, but that is all it's going to be doing right now.
That was a lucky probe. I can't believe that probe was able to stay alive, in fact, to the Reaper.
Reaper was very friendly today.
Yeah, he's like, alright, I'll let you get off this time, man. I'll see you on the Watchtower again, though.
And he is actually going to the other Watchtower, so...
Yeah, probe's like, well, can I take this one?
Alright, for now.
SC's checking all the locations for possible proxies. I really like this.
Yeah, he did see only 1 gate was going up there, and he did see the 2 gas, so as you're saying, that usually indicates a more tech build.
Yeah, it's not normal to 1 gate expand with 2 gas. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with it, and if you watch Huck play, PvT is actually the person who does it the most, and I think does it the best. You can actually watch him play against Marine King. Recently in OGSTL versus Prime GSTL match. You can buy the VODs. I definitely recommend watching that game. You can see how he kind of pulls it off. And we'll see if anypro does it pretty similarly. So far, he's doing it very similarly, getting his Robo up after the 3 gates.
And the Reaper is going to finally be able to go in here and scout this. He is going to be able to catch a few of these probes off if he does it quickly enough. Yep, he should be able to get 2 or 3 kills here.
Yeah, the Sentry actually might be killed as well if he's not careful. He's going to go up into the main, maybe target down a few more probes.
But 3 sentries there are going to be able to fight off the Reaper relatively easily. Only 2 health left on it. Might be able to get out. Nope, that Stalker's going to stop it.
Yeah, I think he's not going to be able to escape. He has only seen the 1 gate. He hasn't seen what else is inside the base.
Yeah, but he does want to try to keep the Reaper alive as long as possible. Get a little bit of extra scouting. Instead, he tried to get it out. It's not the best decision in that situation.
Well, he saw 3 more sentries, which is kind of helpful. If you see that many sentries, you know there's at least more than 1 gate. You also know that your opponent hasn't been doing something crazy tech, like he's not going DTs or anything like that if he made that many sentries.
Yeah, he's got to invest all of his gas into the sentries instead of tech.
So SC has taken his natural now as well. So this is a pretty even game. Both these guys playing a macro-oriented style, neither really being that aggressive. The Reaper, of course, just scouting a little bit. The thing about anypro that worries me, though, is that he doesn't really know a lot about what his opponent is doing.
He doesn't, but the observers are about to come out right now, and that observer is going across the map, is at the Xel'Naga Towers, and once it gets there, he will see the expansion going up, and he will be able to see that the starport's there as well, and hopefully he'll be able to see that the engineering bay is going on.
Yeah, he's gonna... This is the scariest time for a Protoss who's doing a build like this, when you made the Robo, but you don't make a Robotics Bay. When that stim finishes and he comes with that attack with combat shields, which combat shields are about to finish up, if SC gets aggressive, he doesn't have any AoE units. He's got this gateway army. He's trying to upgrade it as quickly as possible with that Forge, researching +1 armor. But it's very, very difficult to hold that type of aggression without any Colossi. So it's going to be a scary time here for anypro. And in fact, the army is moving out. He will see this. He takes the Watchtower. The Reaper isn't guarding it because he was killed. But he does.
The SCV is just letting him have it.
Yeah, the SCV's like, oh, that's a probe over there. And there's one of those.
Oh, actually, he's not. This is interesting. So he's leaving the probe there. That might actually be intentional. He's leaving the probe next to the tower, but he wasn't close enough to get the vision for it. And SC was actually able to sneak the army right past.
Yeah, that's really weird how that turned out, but he does see it with the Observer now. This is going to be so hard for anypro to hold. There are 2 medevacs here. There's Stim, there's combat shields. These force fields are quite good.
He was able to take off 2 Marines there and force the army to move around, but and finally does actually cut off part of it. More force fields going down to make sure that the army can't go in. However, there are 2 medevacs here. He can just elevator into the main if he wants to. Instead, he is going to stim and try to go in the front. That is a lot of Stalkers in a situation like this. It's going to be very, very close in this battle.
Yeah, a really nice micro by anypro, constantly moving back the weakened Stalkers. Wow, really good
Not
micro.
as close as I was expecting.
Well, the thing is, the Marines took a lot of damage from the Zealots early on, and then the Stalkers were just barely able to clean them up. If he didn't have those Zealots there to tank damage at the beginning, that would have gone a lot differently.
Yeah.
No, anypro is actually, in anypro fashion, adding a bunch of gateways here. As he adds his Twilight Council, he wants to add a lot more gates before taking a third base so he can take that third base safely. He's also adding his robotics base. He's basically just adding everything that he can't support until he has a third base, but he's just doing it so that making sure, oh, well, if he attacks me, I want to make sure I can hold this. I want to have the extra gates. If I'm on cooldown, he attacks me.
Yeah, and by having those extra gates, you don't actually need to use them constantly. You can wait until the army's moving out and then react to exactly what you see. It's a really nice maneuver. It requires a bit of extra minerals in the time, so it's not as efficient as possible, but that flexibility gives you a lot of power.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a Zerg player making a macro hatchery before taking a third base. It's just one of those things you do to just make sure that you can take it for sure. It's not taking a big risk when you take that base.
SCV trying to get in there, but it did get slaughtered by that Immortal.
He was like, I'm glad I wasn't wearing armor, or that Immortal would have killed me even faster.
One shot. Oh, that would be terrible.
Imagine if SCVs were armored units. How would the world be? I mean, they are kind of wearing armor. It's more of just a spacesuit.
Light armor.
Yeah.
It's Elven.
It's like chainmail SCV.
Yeah. So the third is going up, as you're talking about. anypro is going to be able to get this up much faster. He's also getting the upgrades that he needs to be able to support a very strong army as soon as that third does get fully operational.
The problem for anypro right now is that SC just has a lot more units because he's been essentially making units off of 5 barracks and a starport just constantly, whereas anypro spent a lot of time teching, powering up, adding more gates, taking his third base. He's going to start to catch up pretty soon, but right now SC has this very strong army he could be aggressive with. If SC continues to be passive, though, as he is right now, he is going to be in trouble in about 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, he is trying to get Vikings out right now. He does have 4 at the moment, but with the Colossi coming out and the Zealots with speed, it's really going to hurt this Marauder force quite easily. There's only 4 medevacs as well, so if he forces enough stims before the actual fight gets started, those medevacs could really have a low amount of energy and not be able to heal the units that he really needs to.
And looks like this army is going to be spotted. He is starting to get aggressive. Like I said, if he didn't, it would have been in a really tough spot. Now he is going to be able to do a decent amount of damage. Zealots do have charge. +2 armor isn't quite done yet. He may want to just buy himself a little bit more time. He's not bringing his Colossus with his army, which could be a big mistake. SC is splitting his army really well, preparing for this. It's going to be difficult for anypro to win this fight. He's 20 supply down right now. He's warping in some High Templar. Might want to make some Archons.
Those Templar will be good to take out the medevacs if you can.
This is the worst part. Oh man, this drop in his main is going to draw his army back. Then he's going to attack the third base at the same time. Here he goes, running forward. Nice splitting and nice micro by SC. The Zealots were at the back, so they're looking really bad for anypro. The Colossus falls, and that's going to be, this may actually end the game right here.
Yeah, it was a really nice maneuver by SC to attack the front and the back at the same exact time. Those Vikings were exactly what he needed to fight down the Colossi. The Marauders are doing everything else. The Medevacs are staying up because there are no Templars to feedback them. The drop is still going on in the main, taking out a lot of probes here. Was able to take out some of the tech as well.
Yeah, I think anypro just maybe made a few too many gateways, and he tried to go Templar and Colossi before his third base was up, and you know, this game is not going to go on much longer, to be blunt with you guys.
No, it is 138 supply, 281. There's a lot more bio units for SC coming out. The main force still is not killed yet. However, these Zealots are going to be able to charge in and force it to run away a little bit, but the drop is still going on.
Yeah, well...
It was still going on.
He's like, hey, I'm gonna feed this Marauder to the Sharks. It's like dropped a Marauder into 6 Zealots.
They don't want to pay for his salary.
It's like, wait a minute. I'm not entirely sure if this makes any sense. Do you want me to jump into 2-2 Zealots like by myself?
Sure, it'll be fun. We'll take a video of it. It'll be on GomTV.net.
Very true, man.
All right, so there is one medevac going on here with more Marauders. The rest of his force is going to be coming down from the bottom, so he's going to split his forces again, but flip where his main army is versus his drop.
So anypro's making a few more Archons. He's got a ton of Zealots, actually, which are going to be pretty useful, but it's just not going to be enough. As a Protoss, you have to have a very solid mix of Stalkers and Zealots. High Templar or Sentries, depending on the timing. The Archons, of course, are good to have in there in the mix, but SC's got the gold base.
Yeah, this gold is going to be huge. He did know that he has a much larger army at the standing time, so he is able to take a lot more aggressive of an expansion, take that gold base that's close to your opponent, and just get a ton of minerals.
SC is going to be aggressive here again, moving forward. anypro might be able to hold this if he had Psystorm, maybe. Probably not still. But he doesn't even have Psystorm. He hasn't started because he doesn't have enough money. He's warping in those Archons to try to not die. He's down 54 supply. He's just not attacking for some reason, but, you know, like his teammate ASD last game, he just wants to play 100% safe.
Yeah, and he knows that because he has the gold base and the third base of SC isn't even up yet, or anypro isn't up yet, he does have the time to be able to play it a lot more safe, get more ahead, get the upgrades he wants, get ghosts out. He saw that the Templar were made. He didn't know what the timing of the Psionic Storm was. It is actually not even researched yet. It's not even halfway. If he'd known that, then he probably would have been a lot more aggressive.
Absolutely. And these Zealots are going to be on the high ground here. While there are units attacking them from the low ground, they're going to have to run all the way around this ramp to engage the army. Well, it looks like
SC's not
going to engage there. But he's just not attacking for some reason. He wants to be 100% safe, but he's actually giving anypro enough time to research Storm here. And if that Storm finishes, he might have a chance at not dying. It's still going to be very difficult to come back. He wants to use this drop, again like he did last time, to bait the units of anypro back.
Yeah, he might actually be able to run in here and take out some of the tech units or tech buildings as well.
He does have a ghost in this mix. In fact, he has 4 ghosts in this mix. That's a lot more ghosts than I thought. So if he gets off some good EMPs, yeah, a lot more than he needs, that's for sure.
But Storm has just finished. He is going to be able to get a little bit off going here. There's 3 High Templar. Well, they all got EMP'd. That is huge for SC. He is going to be able to run in here and do a lot of damage. It's a lot of Zealots, but there's a lot of Medevacs and a lot of Marauders in the mix as well. All those units are EMP'd, so their shields are gone. They are falling very, very quickly. They are able to chase after as well, but the drops are going on at the same time, so the distraction that he needs is happening. He is going to be able to take down this army as well. However, he's going to take a lot of losses on his own side. Most of the Zealots are down.
He had better upgrades, but GG, he had better upgrades, but he just didn't have enough units, and he couldn't be everywhere at once. And when you have that mobile medevac army out, it's difficult.
Yeah, SC did a great job of distracting anypro with that one drop while attacking the third at the same time. It was a pretty even game up until that point, but that was really the turning point that gave him the win.
Well, here's the thing about what really went on in that game, that it's not like, oh, Terra and Zimbo, you know, anypro was kind of ahead. He held off that Marine attack, and then what he did was he wanted to take a third base, but then he added like 4 more gates, so he went up to like 8 gateways on 2 bases. And I was like, all right, when he added another forge, I was like, okay, so he's got a lot of gates and 2 forges, and he's got the Twilight Council getting the upgrades, and I was like, yeah, you can do that. Then he had
And
the
the
Robotics Bay,
yeah.
and I was like, all right, you can't actually, like, he's trying to make he gets one Colossus out, and he's researching range, so he has like one Colossus that he doesn't even use in that main fight. And then just all these things are going wrong. I was like, anypro, you can't support 8 gates and the Colossus and then try to take a third base, because then you can't use those gates. You spend a lot of money on the gates, and then SC just has a little bit more units than you, does that one drop in your main, and then just kills you.
He probably would have been okay if he did exactly what he did, but then also added a fleet beacon for a mothership. I think that's what he really needed.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that was left, man. Was he could add the Arbiter Tribunal in there.
Yeah. Warp back to StarCraft 1, try to bring those units in. Yeah. So that is going to be unfortunate for anypro. He's going to drop down 0-1 right now. That was the win that SE needed to stay in it. If you go only 2-2, there is a chance that you can still qualify for Code S, but it's very difficult.
Yeah, it's almost
a
impossible.
lot of other players need to go 2-2. So you're really aiming for those 3 wins going on here.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. That's going to be really good for ST to get that win. We're going to take a 2-minute break, guys. We'll see you when you get back.